who are just like desire trees, desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Yevcha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All right. No, that's all right. You're fine. No, I'm fine. So. Jayo Radha Madhuma Kunya Bihari Jayo Ram Madhuma Kunya Bihari Gopi Janavanabha Giri Varanade Gopi Nanavadabha Giri Varanade Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatira Panachade Yamuna Tira Panachare Jai Hurad Manahova Kunya Bhagavate Jai Radha Madhova Kunya Bhagavate Ramadhova Kunya Bhagavate Gopijana Manava Giri Varanagute Gopijana Manava Giri Varanagute Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Munatera Manachare Yamunatera Manachate Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunya Bikhahote Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunya Bikhahote Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shima His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanana Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Premse Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuranam Ki Jai Jagadavasami Ki Jai Yamahuna Maye Ki Jai Srimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hadi Hadi Bo. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Budale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namadi Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nirvisages Anybody Paschatyadeja Tarni. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto 48th Chapter Text 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. The Toldavaha Sadutaya Bipujito Nyasidad Uvyang Abhimrisha Chasanam Krishna Pi Turnam Shayanam Mahadanam Vishesha Lokacharitani Anuvrita Tatodava Sandutaya Vipujito Sadit Vipujito Nasidad Urvyam Abhimrisha Chasanam Abhimrisha Chasanam Krishna Piturnam Shayanam Mahadanam Vivesha Loka Charitanyanuvrata Tatoldava Sadduta Yabhipujito Sadduta Yabhipujito Nasida Durvam Abhimrisha Chasanam Krishnopi Turnam Shayanam Mahadanam Viveshaloka Charitanya Nuvrata Tatholdava Sadhutaya Vipujito Yasida Durvyam Abhimrishya Chasanam Krishnopi Turnam Chayanam Mahadanam Viveshaloka Charitanya Nuvrata Shidadurvyam Abhimrishya Chasanam Loka Charitanya Nuvrata Anyone else? Okay. Tacha also Udavaha Udava Sadhutya as a saintly person. Abhipujata worshipped. Nyasedat sat. Urvyam on the ground. Abhimrishya touching. Cha and asanam the seat. Krishna Lord Krishna. Api and Turnang without delay. Shayanam a bed. Mahadanam very rich. Vivesha lay upon. Loka of human society. Achadatani the modes of behavior. Anuvrata imitating. Translation. Uddhava also received a seat of honor since he was a saintly person, but he simply touched it and sat on the floor. Then Lord Krishna, imitating the manners of human society, quickly made himself comfortable on an opulent bed. So you can repeat. Uddhava also received a seat of honor since he was a saintly person, but he simply touched it and sat on the floor. Then Lord Krishna, imitating the manners of human society, quickly made himself comfortable on an opulent bed. So purport by the followers of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. But according to the Acharyas, Uddhava felt reverence for his Lord and thus declined to sit on an opulent seat in his presence. Rather, he touched the seat with his hand and sat on the floor. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti adds that Lord Krishna made himself comfortable on a bed located in the inner chambers of Trivakra's home. So, Tatoldava saluta yabi pujito yasida durvyam abhimrishya chasanam krishnopiturnam shayanam mahadanam vivesha loka charitanyanu vata. So Omagana Timiranda Shag Ananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shigarave Namaha. So first I'm going to read the Acharya's commentaries, which are very short. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, Uddhava felt that it was improper for him as Krishna's servant to sit on a seat offered by the hand of his beloved. After touching the asana with his hand in order to honor her offer, he then sat on the floor. Krishna then lay on a bed in an inner room. So Jiva Goswami comments, Uddhava was similarly Tata welcomed properly, sadhu toya. By Kubja with devotion, he touched the seat and sat on the ground, or he offered respects to it to please Kubja. After being seated for worship, Krishna got up and quickly sat on the bed, studded with gems, Mahajanam, within the room. The reason is given. He acted like a human being who, entering the woman's house, quickly sits on the bed freely for pleasure. He followed the habits of ordinary men. Anuvrata, since he acts like a human, by his own decision, it should be understood that it was night at that time. Shoo. So, many things are being dealt with in this particular verse. I mean, the first thing I can think of is the proper etiquette that even though Kubja was from the caste, she wasn't a prostitute, we understand that, but she was from the caste, the lower caste, right? So, therefore, she followed the etiquette properly. And that etiquette, as we've heard many times before, is what when someone comes as a guest, they're to be treated as Narayan. Just like last night, we were reading from the Chaitanya Bhagavat about the story of this itinerant Brahmin who was going around, and he was just visiting different people's houses. Finally, he came to the house of Jagannath Mishra, of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, little Nimai, not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at that time, little Nimai was there. And this itinerant Brahmin was offered everything by Jagannath Mishra. In fact, all the itinerant Brahmin wanted was an opportunity to cook. He was so strict, he wouldn't let anyone else cook for him. So anyway, so what happened is that he cooked for himself using the ingredients that Jagannath Mishra gave him. And Krishna, that is Nimai, kept stealing the offerings. And the point is, Jagannath Mishra felt so upset because he wasn't able to properly honor this guest. He was just holding his head in his hands and just, oh my God, like this. And he was ready to beat little Nimai. Described he was chasing him at one point with a stick, just like Mother Yashoda was chasing Krishna. And of course, he was stopped from doing that, from beating him. So you see the importance of this etiquette of receiving the gift nicely, and even this Kubja understood this. Another thing that I thought was really interesting was that here is Uddhava, a very high-class person, walking into the house of the low-class person. Now, I understand Krishna, he's transcendental, he could do anything, but it's just like completely unbelievable in that culture, isn't it? That someone who is a Brahmin is going to walk into the house of someone who is a prostitute class. Not she's not prostitute, but prostitute class.
And it's just like, because you have all this caste discrimination. Well, really what happened is that Uddhava was appreciating Krishna's girlfriends because he had just come back from where? Did anyone know? Just came back from Vrindavan. So he saw the great devotion. So he actually understood that the relationship that these girls had with Krishna was actually completely transcendental. And so even though he was going in her house, and another point is that here's Krishna, and Krishna's only 16 years old at this particular point. And he's going into this lady's house. The whole thing from a societal perspective is quite unusual, isn't it? 16-year-old boy nowadays, oh my God. There'd be a whole scandal about this whole thing. So anyway, I thought that was quite interesting. So that's another point here. And what I really wanted to talk about today was the comment at the end, or the statement at the end of the translation was, he was acting like a human being, or just like a human being, or just like an ordinary person does. He goes into the lady's house, without further ado, lays on the bed. So this is quite interesting that Krishna has these activities that appear like human activities. Now I'm going to explain, I'm going to actually reverse the whole thing, is that in a second, how we have activities that appear like Krishna's activities. But anyway, so the Bhagavatam deals with this. It has a very interesting verse in the first canto, first chapter, text 20, which I'm going to read, that actually states this. Because you find in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, there's actually verses that are reflected in the later pastimes. So everything is summarized in the first canto, basically the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam and second chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is 1:120. And this Krishna acting like an ordinary person is actually predicted or shown or emphasized in this particular verse. And I'll read it. Kritavan kilakarmani sahag ramena keshava adimar chani bhagavan guda kapata manusha. And the translation is, Lord Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. And here Prabhupada gives a wonderful purport, which I'm going to read. The doctrines of anthropomorphism and zoomorphism are never applicable to Shri Krishna or the personality of Godhead. And I'm going to stop here. Just that anthropomorphism means, it's a quite an interesting term. It means that people are projecting, because we're human beings, we're projecting our nature upon the nature of God. And there was actually a Greek philosopher, I believe it was Xenophanes, if I remember correctly, who opposed another Greek philosopher named Homer. Because Homer actually said that we have these characteristics. Anyway, a little history for you. We have these characteristics because the gods have these characteristics. And Xenophanes, he said that we think gods have the characteristics because we have the characteristics. You follow what I'm saying? So it's interesting. Even in Greece, there was this opposition between the two different philosophies. Of course, the Greek gods were not exactly the transcendental gods, or transcendental God that we worship, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So anthropomorphism, as Xenophanes said, that he said if horses had God, he would look like a horse. And so this is called anthropomorphism, or actually zoopomorphism, so to be precise. So it's interesting, this word anthropomorphism also it's actually a common psychological paradigm or technique, or whatever it is, that we generally do see things related to our particular activities as human beings. I'll give you an example. Anthropomorphism also refers to how we see animals, isn't it? Like we look at an animal and we think the dog is thinking the same way I'm thinking. That's why people love pets, because they think, this dog is thinking he loves me. He's thinking I'm going to be his obedient servant life after life. The master can crush me by his embrace, leave me brokenhearted, not be present before me. He's completely free to do anything. Hey, dogs think like this, actually. So I don't know how dogs think. So basically, this is the point. It's not anthropomorphic that we think that Krishna has this particular form, activities, but it's actually, what is it? There's a Latin word, something Deo. It's actually, we are reflections of the Supreme Personality of God. And of course, that's the same thing as mentioned in the Bible, that we are made in the image of God. And also, Krishna states in the Gita that we are parts and parcels. Mami vangsa jiva loke, jiva bhuta sanatana manasakstani indriyani, prakriti stani parshati. So we are actually parts and parcels of Krishna. So literally, Krishna is saying we're actually have the same nature as him. And his nature, the highest manifestation of his nature is apparently much more human-like. Or our nature is godlike, not exactly godlike. But Krishna's nature, it's apparently like our nature in the most intimate dealings we have. It's interesting that in the Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you have the Lord's pastimes described in terms of what? Most perfect, very perfect, perfect in terms of how close the Lord comes to just like an ordinary person in terms of the comparison with this world, isn't it? Like the Vrindavan pastimes are what? Most perfect. Because it's, very intimate, most human-like. But even in Vrindavan, when Krishna kills the demons and exhibits like godly stuff, he does it as a what? In his Vasudeva expansion. When he kills the demons, he doesn't do it. You understand? He expands as Vasudeva. Of course, the same, no difference. Advaita Chitanadi Rananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purasham Navayovanam Cha. But still, it's Krishna's expansion. Of course, when we talk about perfect, most perfect, and perfect, it doesn't mean that something is imperfect. It's not like this material world. Like if you say, you dress the deities perfectly today, you dress the deities, most perfectly, you dress the deities less perfectly. It means you made some mistakes. At least you didn't do it the way I would do it. Something like that. It's like that. So anyway, but you see, the Vrindavan pastimes are the most intimate, most like human beings, isn't it? Whereas you get to Mathura, which is very perfect, and it's also like a human character, many, many human characteristics, and also in Dwarka, it's perfect too, but it's Krishna's most intimate in Vrindavan. Most ordinary human-like, isn't it? You think that? And that's really the most perfect thing. Just where Krishna lets his hair down, so to speak, and he interacts as just like one of us in this material world. Okay, and then go on with the purport is that everything. What? Switch? Mic is going off? So another point is that also mentioned by Krishna in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, that everything in this material world is a reflection of the spiritual realm. So that's another point. This also corroborates the point I'm making that everything originates in the spiritual realm. Everything originates in Krishna, and then everything we see in this world is actually a replica. So sometimes it's described that Krishna's pastimes are replicas of human activities. That's to help us understand. But in actuality, ontologically, everything in this world is a replica of Krishna's activities, right? Loving exchanges, whether even the marriages, right? You're imitating Krishna. Of course, it's dharmic. I'm not criticizing, or maybe I am. So anyway, very interesting. I got some more points, but let me continue reading the purport. The theory that a man becomes God by dint of penance and austerities is very much rampant nowadays, especially in India. And Prabhupada actually comments that Krishna never went to some mystic yoga factory. In the Krishna book, he mentions that. Because he didn't become God, because at the very beginning, what did he do? He killed Putana. He didn't have any chance to execute austerities. You never find little baby Krishna sitting chanting Om. Isn't it? And even Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Bhagavat, which we're reading every night now, it's described that his parents heard ankle bells, and he didn't have ankle bells, and his parents looked on the floor, and they were the imprints of what? Lord Vishnu's, Krishna's lotus feet on the floor. And this is when he was a little baby, so he didn't have a chance to do anything else. So, this Prabhupada says, especially in India. Since Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were detected by the sages and saints to be the personality of Godhead, as indicated in revealed scriptures, many unscrupulous men have created their own incarnations. This process of concocting an incarnation of God has become an ordinary business. That's interesting, ordinary business. Especially in Bengal, any popular personality with a few traits of mystic powers will display some feat of jugglery and easily become an incarnation of Godhead by a popular vote. Lord Shri Krishna was not that type of God. He was actually the supreme personality of God, exactly what I said from the very beginning of his appearance. He appeared before his mother, his so-called mother, Prabhupada said, as Foram Vishnu. Then at the request of the mother, he became like a human child, and at once left her for another devotee in Gokula, where he was accepted as the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mata. Similarly, Shri Baladev, the counterpart of Lord Shri Krishna, was also considered a human child born of another wife of Shri Vasudeva. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that his birth and deeds are transcendental, that anyone who is so fortunate as to know the transcendental nature of his birth and deeds will at once become liberated. So Prabhupada is reiterating what I was just talking about. Now, also, I found some very interesting statements. Actually, it's a poem by Bhaktivinoda Thakur about the human-like pastimes of Krishna. There's a song he wrote called Leela Kirtan. Very beautiful. So I'm going to try to do the Bengali. Jive kripa kori golokher hare braja baba prakashilo se baba sagya brindavana yogya jada buddhi na hoilo. Showing his causeless mercy to the fallen souls, the Lord of Goloka has revealed the moods and sentiments of Braj. One who knows about the mellows of such loving exchanges of Braj is fit to enter Vrindavan as long as he does not maintain materialistic misconceptions. So, Krishna Lila Samudra Par, Vaikunta Bihar, Samana Ihar, Kabunagi, Janosar, the pastimes of Krishna are like an unfathomable ocean. All the activities taking place in Vaikuntha can never be compared to the sweet essence of Krishna's pastimes in Goloka. And then Krishna Narakar Sava Rasadar Shingarer Vishesata Vaikuntha Sadaka Sakye Apagaraka Madhure Nahoy Rata. Krishna's pastimes in the form of a two-armed human being are the reservoir of all transcendental mellows, especially the conjugal mellow. The devotee who is following the rules and regulations of Vaikuntha develops only up to the mellow of fraternity and is in comparison completely unable to taste any such sweetness as is found in the conjugal relationship. And finally, Braje Krishna Dana Nabina Madana Aprakata Rasamoy Jivera Sahita Nitya Lilochita Krishna Gunagana Hoy. Krishna in Braj is just like an ever-fresh youthful Cupid, abounding in all transcendental ecstatic mellows. He always performs suitable pastimes with the different jiva souls according to their capacity. So this is another explanation of why Krishna comes down to this world. Thus, some of the multitude of Krishna's virtuous qualities are mentioned. So this is very interesting, according to their capacity. So Krishna reciprocates with devotees according to their capacity for rendering service, just like Kubja we here describes. And of course, Kubja had these desires, lusty desires. And there's another verse in the Bhagavatam that describes the benefit of even approaching Krishna with lusty desires. And that's second canto, third chapter, text 10. Akama sarva kamo va, moksha kamo dharadi, tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purasham param. And the translation is a person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of all material desires, without any material desires, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. So this is a very interesting verse that we dovetail, basically in the beginning of Krishna consciousness, we are dovetailing our different desires to facilitate our Krishna consciousness. And of course, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also mentions this, the people come to Krishna consciousness for four basic reasons. Of course, there's probably more reasons than that, but there's four main reasons the people come to Krishna consciousness. Chatur Vida Bhajanti Mam. They're coming because they're looking for wealth. They're coming because they're inquisitive. They're coming because they're looking for knowledge, or they're coming because they're in distress. So here is Kubja, looking for sense enjoyment, coming to Krishna, and Krishna is purifying her. So in the same way, all of us are coming to Krishna for different purposes, and Krishna is purifying us too. Now, we should not think that we are any less lusty than Kubja is. We hear about Kubja, oh, she's very lusty, she's approaching Krishna. But we are also approaching Krishna, maybe not in a conjugal way, and, asking Krishna to sit down on our bed or lay down on the bed. But we are approaching Krishna for some ulterior purpose. If we weren't approaching Krishna for some ulterior purpose, we'd already be pure devotees. But ultimately, by association with Krishna, as Kubja is proving, then one comes to the point of aslishva pada padashtubam darshnamaram karotava Yata tata vavadalatu lampato mat prananatas to save it naparaha. Of being ready just to go wherever Krishna wants. Just like yesterday I was asked the question about the pastime of the Tulsi Shalagram Vivaha, that here's cursing in the spiritual world, right? Cursing in the spiritual world. What's the spiritual world is not supposed to have curses. Curses don't act in the spiritual world. And even for devotees, curses don't act. Right? If one's Krishna conscious, one's chanting the holy names, the curses are not going to act. So the devotee wrote me a letter. How is this that there's cursing going on in the spiritual world? And I said, this is Leela. And how is this that devotees are forced to come to the material world just to serve Krishna? Isn't that punishment? Is it going to happen to me? The devotee wrote me this. The devotee was worried. Oh my God. I thought Yad Gatwan Adivartante Tadama Panama Mama. One who goes there, what? Never returns. Oh my God. And here is Radharani cursing people. I better stay away from Radharani. In the spiritual world, she may curse me. Or I better stay away from Krishna. Because, if I get too close to Krishna, she may curse me. But the point is, these devotees are happy to do that because it gives Krishna pleasure. That's really the utmost, the topmost consciousness of a pure devotee, which is, Krishna, you can crush me by your embrace, leave me broken heart, but I just want you to be happy. Or as stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that if my suffering or unhappiness gives Krishna happiness, then that's my happiness. So that comes later on. You can't imitate, or you shouldn't, or you can imitate anything you want, but you shouldn't imitate a higher stage in devotional service. You should be honest and, reveal your heart to Krishna. What is that? Vishaya Durjana, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, showing us how we should approach Krishna. Isn't that? Mama Navedana Shuno, Vishaya Durjana. Om Gopinath, I'm devoid of all good qualities. But generally we're thinking, I've been a devotee for so many years. I have so many good qualities. People are saying so many good things about me, right? But we should have that mood. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in teaching us that particular mood, is actually out of his humility feeling like that himself. If you don't feel like that, then you haven't made much advancement in devotional service. So, of course, you may have those desires, and you should feel like that. You should reveal your heart to Krishna. And if you don't have the desires, you should be feeling like you have the desires, isn't it? So we look at Kubja and we think, oh, there's, lower class lady. She wants to sleep with Krishna, have sex with Krishna. But basically, we're all in the same boat, isn't it? That's how we should feel. And that way, that will evoke the humility in our hearts that's necessary to cry out to Krishna. Ainanda Tanuja Kinguram. So, anyway, we got 1 minute left. Any questions, comments? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Not really. It, like Prabhupada said, there's a threat sometimes. There's a threat, but Prabhupada said there should be no beating. Because Prabhupada said if someone beat a child, Prabhupada would beat them. When Prabhupada heard about that going on, he said, he would beat them. No. Prabhupada said it should be like Narada Muni and his disciple, the snake. You know that story? Narada Muni had a disciple who was a snake. The snake was complaining, since I became a Vaishnava, and I don't bite anyone anymore. Everyone's bothering me. And Narada Muni said, just raise your hood and go, shh. In this way, like that. So it may be sometimes required to have a little anger, but you know, but actually, Jagannath Mishra was advised it wasn't appropriate. He was just so upset because he considered it so important to receive a guest nicely. But the guest and all the other devotees said, "Hey, cool it. He's just a kid. He doesn't know the difference between right and wrong." We were just reading that last night. He doesn't know the difference between right and wrong. And he's not going to learn that way. So it's not going to work. So that's really the Vedic system. It doesn't work. Corporal punishment doesn't work. Confirmed.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvandam Maravindadalayataksham Varhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaranam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Divan Dikayanti Chiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham
Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Sazamaniti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurmani Pacha Nivesesha Shunyavani Vasyachani Zatarante Nivesesha Vasyachani Zatarante Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanajanana Shri Advaita Dada Sivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Advaita Dada Sivasade Gaur Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanijananda Shri Advaita Dada Sivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Advaita Dada Sivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanijananda Shri Advaita Dada Sivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu-Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasade Gaur Bhakta Vrindaya Adi Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Radha, Lokanana, Lokanana, Ragate. Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa.
Jayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda